There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. So the words of, some of the words of Rumi, Persian mystic poet. There's a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. And he's talking about that still small voice. A lot of scripture, a lot of spiritual practices, religions talk one way or another about the still small voice, that voice within. Whose voice is that? Sometimes I hear a still small voice, or a voice within, or a voice that's not coming from outside. And I wonder, whose voice is that? Because it's possible it's the divine. It is possible that is the divine speaking to us. So here's the question for you. If the divine spoke to you, would you listen? Would you be open and aware that that guidance, that that voice is speaking to you? The other question is, would you hear it? Sometimes we fill our consciousness up with so much noise and so much activity and so much busyness that if the still small voice were trying to get our attention, it just couldn't make its way through the clutter. If the still small voice spoke to you, would you hear it? And if you could hear it, would you listen? So, a little out of character, we're going to do a quick exercise. So if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. Be aware of yourself being present right here and right now. Take a deep breath, let yourself be filled. And then breathe out, let go. And with that breath, let go of your need to think about stuff right now. Just allow your mind to become clear. Allow your mind to become quiet. Notice what you're hearing. Is there some voice of resistance that's saying, oh, come on, get on with it, continue the talk? Are you aware of the mechanical noises? Here in the Falzer Club, there's a lot of air conditioner blowers and stuff that are going. Sometimes, when I'm at home, I can hear weed whackers and lawnmowers. Is there a voice that's saying critical things about what a waste of time this is, or how you should have done something yesterday, or did I turn off the toaster? Go ahead and open your eyes again. We can do that all the time. And it's interesting to notice what our minds are doing, where that chatter is, or what the chatter is, and then just get curious about where's that coming from. Because there are voices in our heads that'll keep on telling us stuff. Anybody have the experience of a voice in your head telling you stuff, whether you want to hear it or not? Yeah. Sometimes repeatedly. Sometimes regularly. Over and over and over again. One of the spiritual processes and practices that we want to do is be able to let ourselves be quiet. Let ourselves let that go and make some space so that if the infinite were to want to say something to us, we could hear it. There's a practice called life visioning. Michael Beckwith created that, which is a combination of prayer and meditation, which creates a space where the infinite can speak directly to us about what's the next highest idea that Spirit has for this activity we're involved in. And it can be any activity that we're involved in. It could be choosing a paint color for your house, or it could be, what's your next life relationship going to be. There are processes that we can do, practices that we can be involved in. And they are not hidden. They are not secret. They are not mysterious. Just for fun, I asked ChatGPT to give me the 10 bullet points on the stuff that I should talk about in this talk. And anybody like ice cream? Yeah? I like ice cream. Vanilla ice cream? That's okay. It's not one of those sizzling flavors, but vanilla is the most popular flavor because everybody likes it at least a little bit. You ever had bad vanilla ice cream? You ever had ice milk? Remember ice milk? ChatGPT's list of bullet points was good, but it was like vanilla ice milk. So it kind of got all the parts that it needed to get, but it wasn't great. But the point is not how good ChatGPT is. It's even artificial intelligence knows that this is a process that you can engage in. Because once we quiet our minds, once we open ourselves to that divine guidance, once we open ourselves to the idea that there's something beyond what we already knew, something new becomes possible. Intuition. Intuition is knowing something without knowing why you know it. A lot of things you know, you figured out, or somebody's taught you, or somebody's told you, or that's the way it's always been. You know why you know that. Intuition is a different category. Intuition is where you know something and you can't explain why it is that you know it. And in some cases, it's experiences that you haven't put together and realized, oh, I have actually learned this from my own experience. And in other cases, intuition is the still small voice suggesting something new, suggesting a possibility that nobody had considered before. Or maybe that somebody had considered before that you never had. There's also inspiration. Anybody who's involved in the creative process, inspiration is where the creative process, that divine creative process that creates everything, is creating something new through us. And it can be a work of art, or it can be pottery, or it can be a motion picture, or it can be something that's written in a journal, or it can be a new way of dealing with a paperwork issue that we've been dealing with for a long time, or a new idea about how to go through a process that we've been involved with in our work or in our home and in our family, and we get that inspiration. I could put this together in a slightly different way and it will improve my experience and the experience of other people. That's another way that the divine is speaking to us. It is possible that that voice is the voice of the infinite, suggesting a new idea, a new way, a new approach, a new technique. And then we get to participate in bringing that goodness into our lives and into the world. The cool, fun, hip way is it's a spidey sense. Spider-Man has the spidey sense. There's something going on. He doesn't know why, but he can tell. Yeah, well, you got that too. You've got a spidey sense. The completely mundane word for it is hunch. You just had a hunch. I don't know why. I have a hunch this is the way to do that. And we give it a try, and it works. That's the important part. We give it a try, and it works. And sometimes we have a hunch, and we go, nah. That couldn't possibly work. And then doubt comes in. Or then we say, where'd that idea come from? That's preposterous. That could never work. And we get self-criticism that goes on top of the doubt, and the judgment that goes along with that. And sometimes, I don't know if you've had this experience, I have, there's a committee in my head. And they start chattering amongst themselves just about how stupid I was to think that that idea that came up as a hunch could ever possibly work. And they're talking about all sorts of things that has nothing at some point to do with me or the subject at hand. They're just going along because they get together. And that's what those voices do. And that's doubt. That's the thought, that the spidey sense, that the inspiration, that the intuition, that the hunch can't be right. Can't be this easy. People need to study. People need to work hard. People need to accomplish something before they get a hunch, an idea, an inspiration, an intuition like this. Wrong. There is one, and this is back to the principles that this entire teaching is based on. There is one infinite creative power, one divine creative source, one intelligence, one love, one power, one presence, one. Began with just itself. And it's the same story whether we're talking about the Big Bang or in the beginning there was darkness and void. Just the one, and it began unfolding, evolving, and creating. And everything that exists is created out of the one. Everything. And that doesn't mean everything except me and the 3 feet around me. That means everything. It means there is only that one. And that means that if there's such a thing as intuition, it's available to everyone, including me, including each of us. If there's such a thing as inspiration, it is available everywhere. It's always working. And as we have doubts, as we're believing that we couldn't possibly be part of this infinite creative expression, this limitless intelligence, this divine power that has access to everything, as we say that's not possible, then it shows up being not possible. Because that one infinite creative power that creates everything, it can create the impression, the illusion, the experience of separation or lack. It can, by introducing doubt, we can introduce the possibility that it's not going to work. It is possible to be open to the light, as I'm assuming you are now, or go ahead and close your eyes. The light's not getting through. As long as you keep your eyes closed, the light's not going to get through. And there's nothing wrong with the light. And there's also nothing wrong with your eyes. Go ahead and open them back up again. When we close our eyes and then complain that there's something wrong with the light, that's letting our doubt take over and control the experience that we're having. And the great thing is, we can do that. And the other great thing is, we don't have to do that. We have the possibility to understand that we're engaging in this creative process, in this experience of life, in this next moment, in this next breath, in a way that's going to bring uplift and possibility into our lives. That's what we talk about in prayer work stories. We get very intentional about what the experience is that we'd like to be creating, what we're inviting into life, and then allow that infinite creative power to create it. And the most important part is we get out of the way. Anybody here ever deal with procrastination? Procrastination?
Can I get back to you?
I was going to procrastinate once, but I never got around to it. In some cases, procrastination is a way that we keep our good at a distance. Not always. I have had personally the experience where there's something on my to-do list, I know this is something I got to do, and I don't. For whatever reason, I don't, and in fact, sometimes I've beaten myself up for procrastinating about it. And then something happens, and it makes it not only irrelevant if I would have done that before, but perhaps having done it, I would have not just wasted my time, but gotten in the way of something bigger happening. I've had that experience. So now, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm procrastinating," don't procrastinate. Now it's let's go into the quiet and get some guidance about what's mine to do, because maybe get it done. Check it off the to-do list and be done with it. And maybe it's open to a new possibility and take it off the to-do list. Maybe it wasn't something that needed to be addressed right now. And the way that we find that out is by using guidance, discernment. To know that as we are quieting our minds, as we are opening ourselves to that divine guidance, as we are listening to the still small voice, to know that there is the possibility that our ego will do an impression of the still small voice because it wants us to do what it wants us to do. No, go ahead and do that. You need that job. It's like, that job might be nice if that job works out, so I'm going to let go of that and allow the guidance to tell me if that is the perfect job. People come to me for prayer and they say, "Oh, I'm up for this job. Can you pray for me to get the job?" And I say, "Under no circumstances will I pray for you to get that job." They're like offended. Why? What do you mean? Like, I will pray that you have your perfect job and that everybody who is involved in the interview and the hiring process for that job has crystal clarity, divine guidance, and an innate awareness of the perfection of the fit between you and that job. If it is a perfect fit, it's going to be a love fest. It's like you've been friends for life and you're just seeing each other again after a long time, and you get back together, and that's the perfect job. And if it's not the right job for you, that everybody runs screaming from the room saying, "This is never going to work." Because I have gotten jobs where the worst thing that could possibly happen was for me to get the job. And my ego said, "That's the job for me." And it was wrong. So it's possible that whatever you think the right answer is not the right answer. There's guidance available. And sometimes it shows up as judgment. Because we are always evaluating the circumstances and the opportunities that are in front of us and taking steps. When we remind ourselves that we're taking those steps in partnership with the infinite power that creates everything, that the goal that we're moving towards is also looking for an opportunity to come into being by means of us, it changes it. Changes it. Some people will say that they have to find out what their purpose is, why God put them on earth. God put me here because God wanted me to do something, and I have to find out what God's purpose for me is. And, that's puts a whole lot more outside of us than it ought to. God's only purpose in putting us here is to have us here. Full stop. The reason you're here is because you're here. We are each equipped and imbued and endowed with a set of skills and talents and abilities. And as we come to understand those, and as we allow the infinite to suggest to us how we might be able to use those skills and talents and abilities in a way that brings uplift and goodness into our lives and our communities and the lives of the people around us, perhaps something new and wonderful can come about. So it's not what's God's purpose. It's what are my skills, gifts, and talents? What are the things that light me up? What are the things that make me sing gloriously to get out of bed in the morning? What is it that I look forward to? Let's do that. Find a way to do that which brings you uplift and their success. That's God's purpose. And oh, by the way, if you want to be miserable, and if you want to blame your life on some outside force, and you want to have a job just so that you can go to job and go to work and hate your boss and not make enough money, you can do that too. God's okay with whatever experience that we're having. The judgment is coming from us. The experience, the evaluation, the discernment about the experience that we're having is up to us. And the infinite is always ready to say, you can have something different. The answer is going to be yes. There's a difference whether it's our ego telling us what it is or the infinite guiding us in what it is. Gets back to the exercise. Whose voice is that? And that's the invitation for you, is if you know what that still small voice sounds like, great. Cultivate that. Spend some time in the quiet listening to that still small voice, opening yourself up and inviting it more. And if you don't know what it sounds like, then shush. Quiet yourself down for a minute and listen. Because eventually, it might not happen the first time or two or 100 that you do it. Eventually, by practicing, you'll be able to open yourself up and allow that guidance to show up. Is it infallible? Does it show up every time you want it? On cue? Not necessarily. But the practice is about creating the tendency to be able to have that experience. And at the same time acknowledge that human beings have an amazing ability to talk ourselves out of just about any good thing. This wonderful thing could be happening. This is an opportunity to share my gifts and skills and talents and transform the world. I can do that. Or can I? Nah. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe people will think I'm stupid. Maybe it's not a good idea after all. I'm just going to go back to doing what I've been doing. Open to the possibility that that was a great idea, that it is the divine suggesting something. The way to do it is to resist a little bit and say, okay, that's a wonderful idea. But instead of saying I'm not going to do it, it's like, maybe that's not mine to do. Because when it is, and we continue that process of getting quiet, the infinite will come back again and suggest it again, and again, and again, and again. When the voice of God calls, if you let it go to voicemail, it will call back. One of the interesting things, that's a great way that you can find out whether something is your ego talking or the infinite guiding you. Because the ego will call back with a different idea and keep on trying different things to get you to do something. And the infinite will call back saying the same thing over and over again. Interesting. So whose voice is that? It's the beginning of summertime. So perhaps you can take this summer to experiment with that, to find some time, to get quiet, to invite the infinite to suggest something to you, to not be attached to needing an outcome right away, and to just be involved in the process. What does it look like when I allow my mind to get quiet and open to guidance? And do it once, then do it again, then do it again, then do it again, and then once you've got some practice, you'll have some experience. And if it doesn't work for you, give yourself some time to find out that it doesn't work for you. If you're deciding right now, yeah, I don't have time for that, it's not going to work for me, okay, your ego just won that particular round. The still small voice is available. So I invite you to spend some time cultivating it, inviting it, and allowing it to be a partner in creating something fabulous in your life. Because you deserve it. You deserve it. You are wonderful. So it is.